Good morning, gardening friends. It is Friday. I haven't done much else this week in the garden, but there's one thing that's been in the back of my mind, kind of driving me crazy. So, what I want to do is take this first section here where we're talking about doing the terracing, put up some stakes and some tape, and get an idea of what it would actually look like. And that way I can also have those pictures ready to show my parents so they can see what they'd be getting for the materials that I've told them we need, and roughly what it would look like. It'll help them visualize. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start setting that up. Alright, so the first thing I need to do is, since that last bin is going to be kind of in the way, let's take care of moving that real quick. They keep falling out of that tree. Also, I realize now that moving that one bin on top kind of blocks the view, so let's correct that. That's better. Okay, now let's see about taking some initial measurements. I'm going to use the 3-4-5 rule to make sure I've got a right angle, because that's how I'm going to cut the wood, so I might as well render my estimate here accurately. Okay, and in case you were wondering what I was doing there, the first ones I put up on the hill were at 3 feet because the design is 4 feet wide. So if I got 4 feet wide, and if I go 3 feet up, then kitty corner should be 5 feet, or basically the hypotenuse of the triangle. So I was able to take those measurements and pretty much verify what makes a square corner. And then if you saw me, I put the first one up and then I pull it out. That's because it's actually supposed to go back 41 inches. I am not going to dig into the hill right now, so the 41 that I've got is actually probably a little bit more. But this is really an approximation, but I did want to make it a reasonably accurate approximation. So now I've got that first one. My design has it going up 14 inches to those first two, and then that's going back 41 inches, up 14 inches, then it's going to go back 20 inches and up another 14, and then 20 and another 14, and that's the 3 levels, and that should leave a bit of a shelf underneath the tangerine tree. So that's kind of what I'm planning, and that's what you're going to see me execute next. Okay, now that's all 6 stakes in the ground, actually 8 stakes in the ground to represent the 3 levels. You might be wondering why, it occurred to me, you might be wondering why I'm going 41 inches back on the first stage and 20 inches on each additional stage instead of spacing it out equally. Let me actually swing you around and show you. What I want to do is we've got this part of the wall here that goes back to, see if I can sort of point, right about there is 41 inches. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to match the depth of this cut in the wall, this recess that was set up for the garbage. I think when this place was built so many years ago, almost 50 years at this point, that they were only anticipating 1 garbage can. They didn't know about recycling back then. But there's like a water pipe running right here, which is also this water pipe right there. So just various reasons, it seems to me like it would make sense to make that first cut into the hill kind of match this whole area here. So I'd probably run 41 inches all the way across. And as it turns out, if I do it in 3 lifts, I'm going up 14, 14, 14. That's 42 inches, which turned out to be about the level of the trunk of the tree right there. So that's sort of been the calculation, trying to figure that out. So that last set of stakes furthest up on the hill will match roughly the height of the where the trunk is in the ground, so I can put a bit of a shelf in front of it also, so the roots will have a little bit more area to grow into and the tree will be even that much healthier, and we won't have to worry about it falling over. I actually was going through some old pictures, and I've got a picture of Dad literally trying to push the tree back up. This was probably 12 years ago, and it was one of these weird sort of things. Basically, the tree got weighted down under the weight of its own fruit and fell forward towards us, and fortunately didn't wipe out the roof or the gutter or anything like that, but it then turned into this whole project about, okay, what do we do? And since Dad's history, he grew up in Fillmore area. So if you look up Los Angeles and Fillmore, California, his father, my grandfather, bought a bunch of land there, and they grew a lot of citrus. And so my dad's brother, my uncle, was still living in the area there and had experience with trees falling under the weight of their own fruit. So Dad called and said, okay, what do we do? And the simple response was, you put a stake in the ground, you get a rope and a come along, and you pull the tree back up, and then you leave it staked with the rope for however long, so that the roots have a chance to reestablish. And we didn't lose the tree, so that's a really good thing. But these are on a hill. That's why we try to put these. Let me swing you around to another tree here. Let's see if you can sort of see right in the middle there. You can see the trunk of the tree, and hopefully you can sort of see that we've built sort of a shelf there. But the problem is, when the rain comes, or even just the sprinklers, just over time, it starts to erode away the front of that shelf. So if we put the terracing in, we have a much better chance of it staying in place and not having to worry so much about the tree falling over, unless it just gets a ridiculous amount of fruit on one side of itself. So, but anyway, that's that whole story. Let me swing you back here. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take that yellow tape that you see in the picture, and I'm going to string it across and try and get it at the 14-inch lifts so I can see what that'll look like. Okay, so it turns out those first two stakes are right at 14 inches at ground level, so I don't know if I can string tape across, and also I'm realizing my stakes are not all that stable to try and string the tape across, but at least I can take some measurements and figure out roughly how close I am, and then try and explain it if I let my parents take a look at this and see how they react, if I need to be a little bit more, need better stakes in the ground just to be able to demonstrate. I don't know that they're going to worry too much about it, but that's the first two. Now I'm going to see about figuring out the next two. Okay, let's get a closer look at this. Keep stepping on things here. Hopefully that's a little bit more obvious. I had to change my plan from the yellow tape. I thought that was going to be kind of cool. It would be really visible, but it won't stick, and you can't really staple it, and the pieces that are up there are just going to fall over. So, I mean, this might last a day. I think the sprinklers go off tomorrow morning. I doubt it'll make it past that. But if I can get them to come out and look, they can see that basically the first row of stakes, see if I can get my finger in there, there we go, that first row of stakes is basically just going to be at ground level. But I will end up cutting out this, let me see if I can come back a little, excavating out a little bit here so it'll rise up to that level. because ultimately I'm going to level off from the wall here, from the wall back to where did it go? Where that first stake is. And so then you'll see, ultimately when I'm done with the whole project, you will actually see a bunch of it exposed. There will be 14 inches of rise, and it'll end up right, the top of that wall will be right at the base of that stake. Then I'll level out again and go back to the next stake, and ultimately then the top of the 14-inch wall will be right where that tape is, right where the string line is running across. And then finally the same thing. I'll level off from here going back and then go up to where that string line is running across. And so that'll give a good idea of how high. And actually looking at it straight on from here, it actually looks like it needs to go up a little more. I think that actually kind of matches the trunk of the next tree better. So I have to figure out if that's what I want or if I want to build it up a little bit higher. The last thing I want to do is undermine the trunk of that tree and have the whole thing fall over. Just told you that whole story. So anyway, that's kind of where that is. I can adjust the design. This is just planning stage and staking it out so I can kind of see what it looks like. I'm not 100% sure that those string lines are level. That's another question to figure out. I can put a level up there and take a look, but that's kind of where we are for now. And considering I still got more work to do in the garage, just cleaning out in there, that's a longer term project. At least for now, and then we're waiting for it to warm up a bit before we get too much more yard work done, but it's something for us to look at, visualize, figure out where we are. And with that, I think I'll wrap up at least today. And good morning, gardening friends. It's Sunday, and there's a couple of things I wanted to address, so we'll go ahead and take care of them. Right behind me here, you see that one pot on top of the short section of wall. That keeps getting knocked over, and let me show you how. At least let me show you how it's possible. It turns out when I built the wall here, I didn't completely backfill it, and so there is a neighborhood cat. We call him Preacher because he's got he's a black cat with little white paws, kind of like the collar, and a little bit of a collar, if you will. But you won't be able to see that too much. I got some security camera footage here, and you can see him walking by. And what he does is he steps on the back side of this, and because it's not backfilled, oh, that's not. All right, let me push it back. I must have had it back a little further. But basically, he's able to tip it just by stepping on it. So if I move it forward, it's better, but ultimately I need to backfill behind there, so I'm going to go ahead and take care of that. Okay, it may not be quite so visible, but I got some dirt back there, and now if I do this little test, it's not tipping over. I also took care of this one, didn't take care of that one. I'm not too worried about it because there's no plants on it. Eventually that'll all get dealt with. The hill will continue to slide. Yeah, anyway, other things to take care of. The geraniums were suffering a bit. I guess when the sprinklers went off yesterday, they didn't quite cover these, so we may have lost some, but I just threw some water on them and some other plants that looked like they could be thirsty. And finally, we've got the mock-up of the terracing. After I did all of that careful work, I realized something. If you remember from what I did just a bit ago, I said it was going to be 41 inches back from the first set of stakes to the next set of stakes. Well, actually, I forgot that the measurement was a little bit different. So I'm going to have to double check some of this. Okay, that's a little closer to reality. Turns out what was making me crazy, I was kind of looking at it, I'm going, that top string line didn't look like it quite matched. And after kind of rerunning the calculations a little bit, I realized I probably need to add another 4x4 to make it just that much higher. If you remember, it was kind of like looking like I need to go to a certain, how can I explain this? On the left, it looks like it's about the right height. On the right, it looks like it's too high. I was going to kind of split the difference. I'm not 100% sure what I want to do there, but the thing is I don't want to come up short and make the shelf too low and have runoff from up above, although actually that wouldn't be as bad as it is right now. You can see that line is up by probably a good 12 inches from the actual slope. So that'll gain some real estate for the roots for that tree and make things a bit more stable than they are. Then basically I ended up moving all the stakes, but in moving them, they're not exactly lined up left to right the way they were before, and I don't think the string lines are level. I didn't bang them back in. I didn't spend all the time, but it's just a more sort of closer to reality view of what this is going to look like. There might be the shelf on this first or the second set of stakes, if that's the first right there, second set of stakes, or the beginning of the first real shelf. There might be a little bit of a shelf there instead of being right at the slope that it's at right now. But the thing that really occurred to me was, and I don't know how easily I can show you this, well, you can see there's a pipe there, and ultimately what I want to do is I want to have the front edge, I want there to be a frame and have a front edge with two legs going up, and ultimately I'm just going to build a rectangular frame, you know, with a front, the two sides, and a back, something like that. And I want the front edge to actually go under the pipe, so it's not going to affect the pipe, but then resting against the wall itself. So the retaining wall adds to the structure here. But that means that I've got to dig down probably the equivalent of about 1 4x4, give or take a little bit. So that's why I'm thinking I might need to add another 4x4 on one of these shelves to make sure everything fits. And so I think what I'll do is when it comes time to do this, is I will build the first frame. It'll go back the 41 inches that we were talking about. And that will get set in where it needs to be set in. And then I'll build up from there, and I can see, do I need to add one more on the first shelf, or I'll just kind of keep matching the slope, because I'm only going to be excavating out this area here, and not so much this area just yet. So hopefully that makes some sense. I'll only be excavating out where I'm actually putting in the terracing, and that'll help me set. I'll be able to compare to the slope next to it to see whether I need to go up one more with the 4x4. So we might need to get one more 4x4 in our materials, and then if that turns out to be too much, we got plenty more terracing we're going to be doing all the way down eventually, and so that, you know, it'll get used, so it's not a waste. So that's what I wanted to try and figure out. Let me see if there's anything else to do around here. It is Super Bowl Sunday as I record this, so I'm trying to figure out, you know, all the things I need to do so that I can then go in and watch the game. But I think that's about it for today. Yeah, I'm going to wrap up for today. And with that, this week is pretty much complete. I don't see myself doing anything else. I still got to get back to the garage project. So I guess until the next update, that's it for now. This is the Budget Gardener signing off, saying thanks for watching, stay safe folks, and may your thumb be green.